Hey guys, it's Dave. Two average dudes. Mike will chime in a second. So, Doug Ford is going to eliminate rent control on new units. I think that's great because I don't think the government should have rent control in. Now, a lot of you are going to scream, what about the poor? What about this? What about that? Well, you know what? What about the people that own the unit? What about the people that are only allowed, a few bucks a year to increase their rent under the old rent control system because it's limited? Now, I don't know about you, but my bills don't go up like 1% or 2%. My bills go up a lot more than that. So every year, the landlord is making less and less money. And let's be honest, you don't want to make less and less money at your job. What if this is their job? What if they rely on this? What if they're elderly and they have investments and that is the retirement fund? You don't want to make less and less. So why should they? No, fair is fair. But I only see it happening with new units, so that's a little issue with me. I think it should happen to all units, to be fair. Do I think it's a step in the right direction? Yes, I do. Do I think there could be improvement on that? Yes, I do. Now, okay, so I don't want to have rent control. That's fine. If you want to change it, why not? Why not make it to a point that it goes up with the cost of living, and not the artificial cost of living, like the real cost of living. I think it's actually like 8 or 9%, not this stupid cost of living that government has. It's terrible numbers because they don't include a lot of things. So if rent went up with the cost of living every year, yes, I think it would be more appropriate, but you got to remember one thing too. If people can't afford housing, well, the landlords won't be able to rent the places. And if the landlords won't be able to rent the place, they're going to have to drop the rent. So it's going to balance it out. It's going to find a happy medium. But if you can't afford rent, you got to find a different job. Why are you depending on the government to sustain you? If your rent's going up and it's out of reach, well, move. Find a different place. Find a different job. Move to a different area. Move to a cheaper area. Why do you have to stay in downtown Toronto? Why do you have to stay in, Calgary, Alberta? If you can't afford it, move. If you can't afford it, get another job. Get a part-time job. I think you have to look at what's going on here is they're being subsidized. Rent is being basically subsidized with rent control. That's why I don't like rent control. What do you think, Mike? You agree, disagree? What do you think?
Hey Dave, Doug Ford's doing some more stuff, which is always great. It's good to see the Premier doing stuff. I'm gonna kind of agree with you here, but I'm gonna disclaimer my comments first. Okay, there are some disabled people out there that really can't work, and those people do need rent control. Those two people do need affordable rent because they cannot work. So my comments are not towards those people because I believe there needs to be some sort of government rent control for that group of people. But for everybody else, it's ridiculous. Okay, I had clients all over that have rental properties, and every year they're allowed to raise the rent by like $20. If someone's renting the place for $1,500, we can raise it $20. Well, property taxes alone go up by $100 and something bucks a year, and all the other utilities go up by a whole bunch every other year. So the fact that this rent control existed did nothing but harm all the landlords out there. The price of everything every year goes up. Rent should go up as well. Okay? And we haven't seen that in years. And people who are actually renting places right now that have been in places for a long time, their rent is actually super cheap compared to what it should be today. Okay, so they may get a shock now that rent control is gone and people raise it to the proper rent, but in the end, why is rent controlled? Okay, we complain all the time about rent and the fact that the landlord can raise rent. Why not we put food on control, or hydro on control, or water on control, or property taxes on control? So great to see that Doug Ford has released rent control, and now landlords can at least increase the rent enough to cover their expenses. Now, again, as Dave said, a landlord's not going to want to get too aggressive with this because they still need to have renters. So they can only raise the rent so high because supply and demand and what people can pay and what area you're in will determine the rent. And a landlord's not going to shoot themselves in the foot by saying, "Oh, my rent used to be $1,500, now I want $3,000," because no one will rent the place. So the system will all work out and take care of itself. And if you have trouble finding affordable rent and you're not disabled, get another job, get a second job, get a third job. Find a sugar mama, find a sugar daddy, do something. So there's a again, if your rent's too high, or move down to a cheaper place. Anyways, guys, good job, Doug Ford. Hope you like the video. Thumbs up and subscribe.